The exciting thing about this video, aside from the fact that we're going to be talking about an amazing book, is that I have moved out of home and this is pre-filmed. So I'm just going to give everyone a heads up right now that whilst I am hoping to just like swing straight back into filming and not miss a beat, I don't know. So if you don't have a video from me next week, then I apologize. It's because I just haven't got around to setting up my new place yet. Hi guys, my name is Kirsty. Welcome to Upside Down Books. I am going to be doing a review of Mortal Engines by Philip Reeve today, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Actually, no, I stand corrected. It was just 4. Okay, I've got my facts right. I'm totally prepped for this video. 100%. No, so I rated this one a 4 out of 5 stars because I really wanted to rate it a 5, but I knew the sequel was probably going to be better just with where it's left off, so I'm just holding back. Doesn't really make any sense, but that's what I did. Mortal Engines is like a futuristic dystopian steampunk, which is a very exciting collection of genres. There are a few books that spring to mind after finishing this one. One in particular that seems to have stuck with me is a book called Worldshaker, which I read way back when I studied it at school. That one, I don't know, just that one has like really grungy steampunk vibes, not like explorative. I can't think of an explorative steampunk, so it just, yeah, they both have really like grungy steampunk vibes, but Worldshaker I don't think is a super widely read book, so that's an unhelpful comparison. You're welcome. So Mortal Engines is a well-known book. I want to like tag it as a modern classic, but I'm not actually sure if it is. I feel like it's just one of those ones that a lot of people have read that's just been loitering on like the brink of existence for me, but I've never really reached to get it. And then they made a movie of it and I thought, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read the book. So I turned to the audiobook because my physical TBR is so like rigorously structured in what I feel like I can or cannot reach to that I never just randomly pick up a book. Which sounds like a very boring way of handling my reading life, but it's fine. I use my audiobooks as my way of picking up a book spontaneously. And I don't know why this works in my mind, so we're not going to ask those questions. I had decided that I didn't want to go and just see the film for this one because I didn't hear anything about it. I am going to look up the ratings for it. The rating has like a 6 out of 10 stars on IMDb and 26% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I think it was just a bit of a sort of film. And because of that, I thought, you know what, I'm going to read the book first because I know that the book is supposed to be good. So I did. Now, it was published by Scholastic and came out in 2001, and it's actually a pretty short book. Like, I think the original paperback is about 290 pages, and it doesn't vary much depending on formats that you have. The audiobook itself is also a short read. It's 9 hours long. It's narrated by a guy called Barnaby Edwards, which is a great name, and it has like 282 ratings that leave it nearly at a 5-star average. Like, the audiobook is good, guys. The Barnaby Edwards is a British narrator, so you get a beautiful British narrating voice, and his style very much so reminded me of Stephen Fry reading the Harry Potter series. So if you have done the audiobook version of Harry Potter and you liked just the way that, I don't even know how to describe the way that Stephen Fry paints that world with his voices and all of that jazz, Edwards did a really similar thing for me for Mortal Engines. So Philip Reeve himself was born in 1966 and he is a children's author and illustrator. Mortal Engines is what he's known for. He's won 2 prizes and I think the Mortal Engines won the Carnegie Prize, and I could be wrong there, but he's also won the Guardian Prize as well. The book itself is set in a futuristic world, like I have said, that's basically based after a time when this 60-minute war has wiped out what we know as today's society. So the world has sort of restarted and been reimagined in a very unique way that I am like somewhat in awe of Philip Reeves for really stretching his imagination and building it. I don't know why this resonates with me so much, but I just loved this book. I really should have just rated it 5 stars, but I'm so convinced that Predator's Gold, the sequel, is going to be like, I feel like I need to reserve that star to express how much more I enjoyed it. Who knows? So the book follows London, the city, London, and the main character is called Tom. And what has happened is basically a guy called Nicholas Quirk has invented this system of traction cities, which is following the beliefs of municipal Darwinism. I read a really interesting thing on Wikipedia about the meaning of the title of the book, it being Mortal Engines. It is actually a quote / reference from Othello, Shakespeare's Othello, and it's to do with the fact that municipal Darwinism is not a sustainable way of living and that the engines are indeed mortal. So I love titles that have a bit of meaning behind them. So London is one of the attraction cities, and not everywhere in the world has taken it up like this. A lot of Asia and parts of Africa don't have attraction cities, and I think America is like mostly dead from the war. Scientific progress has just stopped. They've lost so much scientific knowledge in this war, and people are in a very weird, like, futuristic living with some different ideas, but quite set back in what we know as humanity's collective knowledge at the moment. So they trundle around in their cities. I find it really hard to imagine, but basically it's just a big bundle of tiers and different levels, and then St. Paul's Cathedral on the top of it, and it goes around in different areas. And London isn't doing so well because they're sort of running out of prey, which is the other cities out there. So they capture smaller cities, they take them in, and they take them all apart and use their spare parts to keep the city going and make it better, etc, etc, and they either enslave or kill the people. Lovely. They also scavenge around for a lot of old tech, which is any technology from these days that they can look at and examine and learn from, and that's like super highly prized. The main plot with this is that there's a girl called Hester Shaw who becomes involved very early on in the book, and Tom gets entangled with the drama between her and one of the really important men on London. They have some scheming and plotting going on, the people who are in charge of London, because they have a specific piece of old tech that's not good news. You know, it's sort of like nuclear weapons, and you're like, you don't really want anyone using those because their repercussions are not worth it. Anyway, Valentine and Hester have a bit of beef. The reason that Hester Shaw is on London is because she was in one of the smaller cities that was captured, and Valentine has recognised her because she has severely disfigured face. She doesn't have an eye, it's all like she can't smile properly, she's been in like serious trauma that we find out more about in the book. I'm not going to spoil that for you. Anyway, while she's running away from him, she basically comes to a rubber chute and decides to jump it and drop out over what is luckily some really soft mud. But Tom sees all of this and realizes, and it's too risky for Valentine to realize that something wasn't quite right there, so he actually ends up pushing Tom out of London as well, and the story begins with that. So one of the other characters at play is Valentine's daughter, whose name I cannot remember for the life of me. Now she's very innocent, but she gives us our perspective back on London because now the two other main characters are out into the world. They are not in a great situation because they are just on land, free to be captured by anyone, and there are very few people who stay put and have non-traction cities, basically. Throughout their travels in the book, we go through so many different adventures which are really fun, and we explore so many different elements and aspects of the book. Valentine's Daughter is a really good, like a moral expedition into working out where the line should be drawn with what London is doing to try and survive. So it's sort of like the book is this concept of how far is too far when you need to survive, but it's costing other people. So we kind of spread out with these two different perspectives there because Valentine ends up sending a stalker after Hester and also Tom to eliminate them and stop Hester from being an issue. There are more elements to this story. I'd love to explain to you as to why this is such a chase for Valentine and what's going on, but the book is a little bit shrouded in mystery and you're just sort of waiting for it to be explained, so by me telling you now would probably ruin a bit of the experience for you, so I'm not going to do that. You just gotta take my word for it. The stalker is called Shrike, and there is also history between Hester and Shrike. Basically anyone Hester comes across, you're like, oh, when did they last see each other? They must have some sort of connection. Not always true, but it's really great. It's also a really good love-hate relationship between her and Tom because she is so against love and accepting anyone, and Tom is the sweetest, kindest person. So he's trying to help her out and whatever, and she just has the most extreme mood swings. It's hilarious and highly relatable. I do love those two. I think they make a wonderful, chaotic couple. Anyway, these two get themselves into a lot of mess, and this book is very much so splicing up between different perspectives and from filling in the blanks of what we don't know. There's a lot of assumed knowledge. You're kind of sitting in there. I feel like you're sitting in a meeting that you should have prepared for, but you didn't, and you're just like waiting for somebody to keep giving a little bit of information until you can work out the full picture. So I really like reading from that perspective when you haven't gone in with a massive prologue that's explained everything. You don't know these characters' histories, you know that something's up, you want to know exactly what they're doing, and when you know what they're doing, you want to know what the thing is they're doing is going to do. But there are so many things to look forward to in this book. There are pirates that have their own city, and that is just absolutely fabulous. There is the Anti-Traction League, which are people who don't like the traction cities and believe they should be gone now that the earth is sustainable again. And there is so much more. There's also a dog that's actually a wolf, and I thought that was pretty great. I do love wolves. I think this is like a really wonderful, like, young adult book. It's certainly, like, the characters, I'm not sure how old they're supposed to be. Some of them seem 12, some of them seem maybe 15. I wouldn't say they're any older than that. Tom is incredibly naive because he's spent his life as part of the Historians Guild. He's an orphan, and so he believes that London is great and has this fierce love for Valentine and thinks that they're doing wonderful things when that is not the case. I thought this was a great book. So if you guys have read it, I would love to hear your comments down below. I want to say that it's good for all ages, but it's probably, I wouldn't go too young because there are a few, like, stalkers are basically reanimated dead bodies, so maybe not. But other than that, it's a great read, so I will leave it there, leave you to your thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below, but I will see you in another video. Goodbye.